The market was loud, full of voices shouting, trading, and arguing. The air smelled of spices, oil, and dust. Bright lights from stalls flashed over strange fruits, alien meats, and fabrics that shimmered like liquid. Hundreds of aliens pushed through the crowded street, their tall bodies and colorful skins making the place feel like a living sea. In the middle of all that noise, there was a small sound so weak it almost vanished. A voice, thin like a whisper, carried through the air. "Just milk for my sister, please. I'll pay you back when I'm grown." The words were soft, trembling, and broken. Most people did not even hear them. Those who did turned their heads away, pretending they heard nothing. Nobody wanted trouble. Nobody wanted to waste food on a dying girl. The voice came from a child. She was no taller than a human's chest, her alien body thin like dry sticks, her gray-blue skin covered with dust. She held something wrapped in an old cloth, her baby sister. The small bundle moved weakly, letting out a soft whimper. The older girl's eyes were hollow, too big for her thin face. She looked around with hope, but nobody gave her even a glance of kindness. She stopped at a stall where fat bottles of milk stood lined in rows, glowing under the lights. The merchant behind the stall was a heavy alien with green scales and cold yellow eyes. The girl pressed her shaking hands together. "Please," she whispered again, "just milk for my sister. She will die without it. I will pay you back when I am grown." The merchant laughed, his deep voice shaking his big stomach. "Pay me back? You'll be dead before you grow. Get away, street rat." He shoved her and the girl stumbled, nearly falling with her baby sister in her arms. The bundle made a soft cry, but the crowd around them just kept moving, too busy to care. Some aliens even laughed, pointing at the skinny girl as if her misery was entertainment. Near the edge of the market, a human stood quietly, watching. He was a traveler, dressed in simple clothes, carrying a small pack on his shoulder. His face was tired from long journeys, but his eyes were sharp. He had seen cruel things on many planets, but something about this scene struck him deep in the chest. The girl's voice reached him again, weak, broken, desperate. "Just milk for my sister, please." He clenched his jaw. He could turn away. He could walk past like everyone else. After all, it wasn't his problem. On this planet, humans were strangers, and strangers were often hated. Helping her could bring him danger, even enemies. But then he looked closer at the bundle in her arms. A baby, smaller than his forearm, lips dry, eyes half closed as if life itself was slipping away. The girl's knees gave out and she sat on the dirty ground, rocking her sister, whispering, "Please, don't leave me. I will find milk. I promise." The human's hand tightened on his pack strap. His heart beat louder. Something inside him told him he could not walk away. The merchant sneered again, shouting at her, "Get lost before I call the guards." The girl tried to rise, but her legs trembled. She whispered again, softer this time, almost to herself, "I will pay you back when I'm grown." I swear, those words, they pierced the human like a blade. He had heard promises before, but this promise made by a starving girl with nothing, holding on to her sister with all the strength she had left. It shook him. His boots moved forward before he could stop himself. Step by step he crossed the busy market, eyes locked on the girl and the merchant. The crowd parted a little, curious now. Some aliens muttered, "What is this human doing?" The girl raised her head slowly, her dull eyes meeting his. For a second she looked confused, then afraid. Humans were rare here, and she did not know if he was friend or foe. The human stopped in front of the stall. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned. "How much for the milk?" The merchant blinked, surprised. Then his grin widened. "For you, human?" 10 credits a bottle, the crowd laughed. 10 credits was robbery. Milk was never that expensive. But the merchant was mocking him, expecting the human to back off. The human did not move. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the credits. Without breaking eye contact, he placed them on the stall. The market grew quiet for a moment. The merchant's grin faded. Something in the human's eyes told him this was not a man to mock twice. Slowly, with a hiss, he handed over the bottle of milk. The human bent down and held it toward the girl. Her hands shook as she took it, eyes wide with disbelief. She pulled the cloth from her sister's face, carefully feeding her the milk drop by drop. The baby stirred, drinking weakly, life returning bit by bit. The girl's lips trembled. Her voice was still weak, but now full of something else, hope. I will pay you back when I'm grown," she whispered again. The human looked at her for a long moment. He said nothing. But deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. and in the shadows of the market, hidden eyes were watching. The market kept moving like nothing had happened. Merchants shouted prices, buyers bargained, and guards marched through the streets. But in one corner, something small and different was unfolding. The alien girl, still holding her baby sister close, fed her carefully from the bottle of milk the human had bought. Every drop was precious. The baby made faint sounds, weak but alive. The girl's shoulders shook with quiet relief. For the first time in days, she felt a spark of hope. But the world around her was not kind. The crowd had noticed the human's action and whispers spread. "Why waste credits on trash?" one alien muttered. "He must be mad." "That girl's life is worthless," another hissed. "Humans are strange. Always breaking rules, always interfering," someone sneered. The merchant who had sold the milk kept smirking, counting his credits. He had cheated the human with a high price and still got away with it. He looked at the girl, spitting on the ground near her. "Don't think one bottle will save you, street rat. You'll be begging again tomorrow." The girl did not answer. Her eyes were fixed only on her sister, watching her tiny lips drink the milk. Her hands were trembling, but she tried to hide it. The human stood silently, his arms crossed. He could feel the stares on his back. The market had grown colder, more hostile. By helping her, he had crossed an invisible line. The girl looked up at him for a moment, her voice small. "Thank you. I will pay you back when I'm grown. I promise." The human's expression softened, but before he could speak, a group of guards came stomping toward them. Their armor was dark and heavy, with long sticks that sparked with blue electricity. Their leader's voice was sharp. "What's going on here? Why is this girl still on market grounds? Didn't we clear the streets of beggars?" The merchant pointed at her with a laugh. "That one again. Always whispering for food. She won't last another week." The guards frowned, stepping closer. One reached out to grab the girl by the arm. She clutched her sister tight, fear flashing in her eyes. The human moved without thinking. He stepped in front of her, blocking the guard's hand. The guard stopped, startled. "Move aside, human. This is not your concern." The human's voice was calm but firm. "She's done nothing wrong. She's only feeding her sister." The guard's eyes narrowed. The market crowd grew quiet, waiting to see what would happen. Confronting guards was dangerous, especially for an outsider. The merchant chuckled, enjoying the scene. "Let him defend her. The human will learn how things work here." The guard raised his electric stick, its blue light crackling. "Step back or I'll make you." The human did not move. His eyes were steady, his stance strong. Behind him, the girl's breath came fast, her thin arms tightening around the baby. She wanted to cry out, but no sound left her lips. The guard sneered, then lowered his stick suddenly, deciding it wasn't worth a fight in the open market. He spat on the ground instead. "Fine, keep your charity project. But remember this, human. Helping street rats will bring you nothing but trouble." The guards turned away, their heavy boots shaking the ground as they walked off. The crowd slowly returned to its usual noise, but the tension lingered like a shadow. The girl let out a shaky breath. Her eyes lifted to the human again. She whispered, "They hate us. Everyone does, but you. Why did you help me?" The human looked at her, and for a moment he did not know how to answer. He had no reason, no reward, no plan, only a feeling deep inside that told him walking away would have been wrong. Finally he said, "Because no one else would." The girl blinked, and her lips trembled as if she wanted to cry. But no tears came. Her body was too dry, too tired for tears. For a brief moment, the human thought the worst was over. But then he noticed something. From across the street, in the shadows of an alley, a pair of glowing eyes watched them. The figure was tall, thin, with sharp features barely visible in the dark. The human felt the weight of that stare, heavy and cold. The figure did not move, only watched. He frowned, but before he could step closer, the figure vanished into the shadows. The girl had not noticed. She was too busy rocking her sister, whispering soft words in her own alien tongue. The human stayed alert. Something told him this was not the end of it. Helping the girl had drawn attention, the kind of attention he did not want. The merchant laughed once more, his voice cutting through the air. "Enjoy your new pet, human. Let's see how long you last with her." The human ignored him. He looked at the girl, who now clutched the milk bottle as if it were the most valuable treasure in the galaxy. Her eyes met his again, full of silent questions, silent promises. And in that moment he knew one thing for certain. His life had just changed. But what he didn't know was that the cruel market had only given him a glimpse of what was coming. Darker forces were already moving, stirred by one small act of kindness. The market noise returned, but the human did not relax. He stood with his arms crossed, his eyes moving across the crowd. The alien girl sat on the ground, holding her baby sister, still sipping carefully from the bottle of milk. She looked small, almost invisible among the tall bodies that passed by. People stepped around her as if she was a broken piece of furniture on the street. Yet the human could not stop looking at her. Something inside him kept pulling his attention back. The girl noticed his stare. She lowered her eyes as if ashamed. "I will pay you back when I'm grown," she whispered again. The words were soft, almost drowned by the market's noise, but he heard them. Her promise struck him harder this time. He knew she had nothing, no chance of paying anyone back. Still, she said it with such certainty as if her whole soul depended on those words. Before he could answer, another merchant shouted from a nearby stall, "Hey, human, if you're giving away credits, come buy from me. Or maybe you want to feed the whole street of rats." Laughter broke out from several stalls. A few aliens jeered, pointing at the girl. Some even mimicked her voice, whispering mockingly, "Just milk for my sister, please." Their laughter was cruel, sharp, cutting like blades. The girl shrank into herself, clutching her baby tighter, her cheeks flushed with shame. Her baby whimpered again, feeling her sister's trembling arms. The human's fists clenched. He wanted to shout to silence them all, but he kept his voice steady. He turned toward the mocking merchant. "How much for bread?" The merchant blinked, surprised. Then he grinned wide, thinking he could play the same game as the milk seller. 5 credits for 1 piece. Everyone knew bread cost less than half that. But the human didn't flinch. He reached into his pocket, dropped the credits on the counter, and took the bread. He walked back to the girl, knelt, and handed it to her. The girl stared at the bread as if it were gold. Her lips trembled. She took it slowly, breaking it into small pieces with shaking fingers. She chewed one, then put another tiny piece in her baby sister's mouth. Watching her feed the baby broke something inside the human. He had seen poverty before, but this was different. She wasn't asking for herself. Every bite she gave her sister before herself. She would starve so her sister could live. The laughter in the market stopped. Whispers rose again, but this time they carried a different tone. Some were angry, some were suspicious. Some simply shook their heads. "He'll regret this. Humans don't belong here. He's putting himself in danger." The girl finally ate a small piece herself, chewing slowly, her hollow eyes filling with tears. She whispered again, I'll pay you back when I'm grown." "I swear it," the human met her gaze. "For the first time," he answered. His voice was quiet but strong. "You don't owe me anything." Her eyes widened. No one had ever told her that before. On this world, everything had a price, even pity. Yet here was a stranger telling her she owed nothing. She held her baby closer, whispering softly in her own alien language, words the human did not understand. But he could feel the meaning, hope, gratitude, and fear all mixed together. Then the air shifted. From the far side of the market, a group of tall figures stepped out of the shadows. They were not guards, but they moved with purpose. Their eyes were sharp, their clothes marked with strange symbols. The human had noticed one of them earlier, the glowing eyes watching from the alley. Now they were walking toward him. The crowd began to clear space, falling silent. Everyone knew who these figures were. Local enforcers, thugs who controlled the streets. They owned the alleys. They decided who begged and who starved. The girl was one of their property. The leader of the group stopped in front of the human. His voice was low like gravel. "That one belongs to us." He pointed at the girl. "Street rats don't eat unless we say so. You fed her. You paid for her. That makes you part of our game." The human stayed still, his heart steady. He knew this was coming. Helping her was never going to end quietly. The girl's breath quickened. Her eyes widened in terror. She clutched her baby tighter, whispering in panic. No, don't take us." The leader smirked. "Hand her over. Walk away, human. Save yourself." The human looked at the girl. She looked back at him, her whole body shaking. In her eyes, he saw the same silent question she had asked since the beginning. "Will you leave me too?" The human drew in a deep breath. His choice was clear now. He stepped forward, placing himself fully between the girl and the thugs. His voice was calm, but every word carried steel. She doesn't belong to you. And you're not taking her, the crowd gasped. Some muttered, the human's insane. Others whispered, he'll die for this. The leader's smirk turned into a dark grin. He leaned closer, his eyes glowing faintly. Then you've just made enemies, human. The baby let out a weak cry. The girl whispered her promise again, her voice trembling but firm. I will pay you back when I'm grown. And as the enforcers closed in, the human knew there was no turning back. The human stood firm in front of the girl, his body like a wall between her and the thugs. The marketplace had gone quiet. Merchants pretended to busy themselves with goods, but their eyes stayed fixed on the scene. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. No one wanted to get involved. The alien girl clutched her baby sister close, her breath trembling. She could barely believe someone was standing for her. Every time before, when the enforcers came, people looked away. But this time, a human, an outsider, was refusing to move. The leader of the thugs leaned in, his eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. His grin was sharp and cruel. You don't understand, human. Everything in these streets belongs to us. Every scrap of food, every drop of water, every weak child. His gaze flicked toward the girl, especially her. The girl shook her head desperately. She whispered, no, I don't belong to you. I belong to my sister. Her voice was weak but sharp, carrying more strength than her thin body suggested. The leader laughed. Belong to your sister? She'll be dead in days without us, and you will crawl back begging for scraps like you always do? The human's jaw tightened. He didn't speak. Instead, he slowly knelt down and looked at the girl. His voice was softer now, meant only for her. Feed your sister. Don't be afraid. The girl's eyes filled with confusion and fear. They will hurt you, she whispered. He gave a small smile, the kind that carried both comfort and challenge. Let them try, the leader growled, annoyed at being ignored. He motioned with his hand and the other thugs stepped forward, circling them. The human rose back to his feet, his stance calm but ready. The market crowd edged further back, leaving a wide empty space. The girl gripped the bottle of milk tighter, rocking her baby sister. Her lips trembled and she whispered again, almost like a sacred vow, I will pay you back when I'm grown. The words caught the leader's ear. He barked a laugh. Pay him back, you? You're nothing but a starving rat. He spat on the ground. Human, you're throwing away your life for a broken promise. The human didn't answer the thug. His eyes stayed on the girl. Promises matter, he said simply. Something shifted in her. No one had ever believed her words before. She lowered her head, but her arms held her sister tighter, her vow burning stronger inside her. The leader's grin turned dark. Very well, human. If you want the rat, you've bought her problems too. That means her debt is now yours. And she owes a lot. The girl froze. Her body shook. She whispered fast, No, I don't owe them anything. They lie. But the leader ignored her. He waved his hand and the thugs began to back off, fading into the crowd like shadows. Before leaving, the leader pointed a long finger at the human. His voice was a hiss that cut through the noise. Enjoy your new family, human. But remember, debts always find their way home. We'll collect soon. And with that, they vanished into the maze of alleys. The crowd slowly began to breathe again, though nobody came closer. They had seen enough to know trouble was coming. The girl finally let out a shaky sob, pressing her face into her sister's cloth. The baby stirred, too weak to cry but still alive. The human knelt down again, meeting her hollow eyes. They won't stop now, she whispered. They'll follow you. They'll take everything. He looked at her steadily. Then we won't stay here. Her eyes widened. We? Yes, he said. You, your sister, and me. We'll leave together. Her lips parted in disbelief. But why? I have nothing. My sister has nothing. You owe us nothing. The human's eyes softened. Because someone had to care, and I was here. The girl stared at him, her chest rising and falling fast. She whispered her vow one more time as if carving it into the air. I will pay you back when I'm grown. I swear it. On my sister's life, the human nodded. He didn't know what future those words held, but he believed her. Somehow he believed her. Around them, the market noise slowly returned, but eyes still followed them. Whispers spread like fire. The human has taken in the street rats. He defied the thugs. He'll be marked now. The girl stood slowly, her thin legs trembling. still holding her sister. She leaned against the human without realizing it, her body too weak to carry the weight alone. He let her lean, steadying her without a word. Together they walked away from the stall deeper into the streets. The market swallowed their figures, but the story of what had happened would travel far, and in the dark alleys above, unseen figures moved. The enforcers were not gone, they were watching, following silently. Their leader's words echoed like a curse. Debts always find their way home. The girl whispered one last time as they turned a corner, her voice faint but fierce. "I'll pay you back, no matter how long it takes." The human didn't answer, but in his heart he knew her promise was no small thing. It was the beginning of something far bigger than either of them could imagine. Night fell over the alien city, and the marketplace that had been alive with noise now emptied into silence. The stalls closed one by one, lights dimming until only a few lanterns flickered against the darkness. The human walked through narrow streets, the alien girl beside him. She carried her baby sister in her arms, clutching her close as if the night itself would try to steal her away. The girl was weak, but she followed. Her steps were small and shaky, her feet bare against the cold stone. The human slowed his pace, making sure she could keep up. He didn't speak much. His eyes kept scanning the alleys and rooftops. The threat from the thug still lingered like a shadow pressing on his back. Finally, they reached a quiet corner of the city where the smell of spice and rot was faint. The human stopped beside an abandoned building with a broken roof. He crouched down, clearing a space near the wall. "We'll rest here tonight," he said. The girl sank down onto the ground, exhausted. She held her sister tightly, covering her with the old cloth. The baby stirred but did not cry. She was too weak for loud sounds. The girl tilted the bottle of milk again, letting a few drops touch the baby's lips. The human watched, silent. Something about the way she fed her sister, carefully, slowly, making sure not a single drop was wasted, stirred him deeply. After a while, the girl whispered, her voice trembling. "They will come. They always come. Anyone who helps me, they hurt them too." The human met her gaze. "They won't touch you while I'm here." She looked at him in disbelief. "Why? Why would you protect us?" For a moment he had no answer. He thought of his own home far away, of people he once cared for but could not save. He thought of promises broken and promises lost. Finally he said, "Because someone should." The girl lowered her head, silent for a long time. Then slowly she began to speak. "My name is Lyra," she whispered. "My sister. Her name is Nira. We had parents once." Her voice cracked. "They worked in the mines. Every day, deep in the dark. One day the mines collapsed. They never came back." Her hands shook as she adjusted the cloth around her sister. "The overseers didn't care. They threw me out. They told me to survive or die. I was small, so the thugs found me. They said I belonged to them now." Her lips trembled. "They took my food. They beat me when I begged. They laughed when Nira was born and said she would die before her first year. I swore I wouldn't let that happen. But I had nothing. Only promises." Her eyes filled with a dry kind of pain, the kind that had no more tears left. "So I promised everyone who turned me away. I said, I'll pay you back when I'm grown. But no one ever believed me." The human listened in silence. The night breeze rustled through the broken roof above, carrying her words into the darkness. When she finished, she looked at him, her eyes hollow, but still burning. "But you gave us milk. You gave us bread. You stood against them. I will pay you back. I swear it on my sister's life." The human leaned back against the wall, closing his eyes for a moment. "Keep her alive. That's payment enough." For a brief time they rested in silence, but the peace did not last. From the shadows of the nearby alley, faint footsteps echoed. Slow, careful, not random. The human's eyes snapped open. He placed a finger to his lips, signaling Lyra to stay quiet. She froze, clutching Nira tightly. The footsteps stopped. Then a soft laugh echoed through the dark. A familiar voice. Well, the human thinks he can play hero." The leader of the thugs stepped into the dim light, flanked by two others. Their glowing eyes reflected the lanterns like predators in the night. The human rose to his feet slowly, his body shielding Lyra and Nira. His voice was calm but sharp. "You should have stayed away," the leader grinned. And let you steal what's ours? No, that girl belongs to us. She owes us. Her blood is debt. Her sister is debt. And now you are debt too. The girl's breath came fast, her body trembling. She whispered, no. Please, no. The human spread his arms slightly, steady, unafraid. You're not taking them, the thugs laughed. Then we'll take you instead. The night filled with tension, every second stretching long. The girl pressed her face against her sister's head, whispering words of comfort in her alien tongue. But her eyes stayed on the human, glowing with one desperate hope, that he would not leave her like everyone else had. The leader raised his hand, signaling his men to move. End him. The human clenched his fists, his muscles coiled like steel. He knew this was not going to be easy, but he also knew he could not walk away now, and as the first thug stepped forward, Lyra's whisper cut through the night again, soft but fierce. I'll pay you back when I'm grown. The human drew in a steady breath. The fight was about to begin. The night air turned sharp. Every sound in the empty street seemed louder. The rustle of cloth, the crackle of lantern fire, the faint whimper of the baby. The three thugs moved slowly, their glowing eyes fixed on the human. Their leader stood behind them, his grin wide, his voice dripping with cruelty. Last chance, human, he said. Step aside. Give us the girl. Or be buried in the alleys, the human didn't answer. He shifted his stance, feet firm on the ground. His hands curled into fists. His eyes never left the enemies in front of him. Behind him, Lyra crouched low, clutching her sister close. She whispered words the human couldn't understand, but he felt their meaning: fear, prayer, and promise. The first thug lunged, swinging a metal rod. The human moved fast, stepping sideways. The rod struck the stone wall with a loud clang, sparks flying. Before the thug could pull back, the human slammed his elbow into the alien's ribs. A deep grunt escaped the thug as he stumbled. The second thug came next, rushing with a blade that glowed faintly red. The human bent low, grabbed a loose brick from the ground and hurled it with force. The brick struck the thug's wrist and the blade clattered onto the stones. The human closed the distance and drove his fist into the thug's jaw. The alien staggered back, teeth spilling blood. The third thug was larger than the others, his muscles thick and skin marked with scars. He charged like a beast, tackling the human into the wall. The impact shook dust loose from the roof. For a moment, it seemed the human might be crushed, but he twisted his body, driving his knee into the thug's stomach. The alien roared, raising his arm to strike again. The human grabbed the fallen blade from the ground and pressed it against the thug's throat. The alien froze, panting hard. The leader clapped slowly, mocking. Impressive. A human with tricks. But tricks won't save you forever. The human's eyes were steady. They don't need to save me. They just need to save them. He tilted his head toward Lyra and Nira. The leader's grin darkened. He raised his hand and suddenly more shadows stirred. From the corners of the alley, 3 more figures appeared, slipping from the darkness like predators. Their weapons glinted in the dim light. Lyra gasped. There are more. She held Nira tighter, pressing her forehead against her sister's. Her body shook, but her eyes refused to close. She forced herself to watch, to not look away from the human who was fighting for them. The human released the big thug, shoving him back. He lifted the glowing blade, holding it steady in his grip. His breathing was heavy now, sweat dripping down his face. Still, he stood tall, the leader sneered. 1 man against 6? You should have walked away. The human's voice was calm, low and firm. 1 man is enough. The thugs moved as one, circling him. The fight became a storm. Blades flashed, fists struck, and the sound of steel clashing against stone echoed through the night. The human fought with precision, every move sharp and efficient. He ducked under strikes, countered with brutal punches, and used the narrow alley walls to his advantage. One thug fell, groaning on the ground. Another's arm bent at an angle that made him scream. The human's body took hits too. A cut along his arm, a bruise on his ribs, but he kept moving, driven by something deeper than strength. Purpose. Lyra's heart pounded as she watched. Her body wanted to run, to hide, but she couldn't. Her eyes stayed fixed on the human. She whispered her vow again and again under her breath, like a chant. I'll pay you back when I'm grown. I'll pay you back. I'll pay you back. The baby whimpered softly, and Lyra pressed her lips against Nira's head, rocking her while the storm of battle raged. Finally, the alley grew quiet. The last thug crashed to the ground, groaning and unable to rise. The human stood in the middle of the fallen bodies, his chest rising and falling heavily. The glowing blade dripped with alien blood, but his grip was steady. The leader was the only one left standing. His grin was gone, replaced with fury. He stepped forward slowly, his voice a low growl. "You don't know who you're fighting, human. We are only the surface. Behind us is the network. The city, the underworld. You can't win." The human wiped the blood from his face with the back of his hand. "Maybe not," he said. "But tonight you lost," the leader hissed, his glowing eyes narrowing. He backed into the shadows, his voice echoing as he retreated. "This isn't over. Debts are never forgotten, and you've just written your name in blood." Then he was gone. The human lowered the blade, tossing it aside. He turned to Lyra, who was staring at him with wide eyes. Her lips trembled, and finally words spilled out. "You fought for me, for us." He knelt down, his face softer now. "I told you. You're not alone anymore." Lyra's hands shook as she reached out, clutching his arm. Her voice was weak but certain. "I swear. I will grow strong. I will pay you back. One day I will protect you like you protected us." The human looked at her, and for the first time he let a small smile break through the tired lines of his face. "Then live." That's the first step. The baby stirred in Lyra's arms, letting out a small, fragile cry, not of pain, but of life. It was the sound of survival. And in the distance, hidden eyes watched from the rooftops, already planning the next move. The night was not done with them yet. The alley smelled of blood and smoke. Broken weapons lay scattered across the stones, and the groans of defeated thugs faded slowly into silence. The human stood still for a moment, breathing hard, his shoulders heavy with exhaustion. His knuckles were bruised, his shirt torn, but his eyes remained sharp. Behind him, Lyra sat against the wall, holding Nira close. Her body was trembling, not from the cold, but from the storm she had just witnessed. She had seen fights before, cruel, quick, merciless, but never had anyone fought for her. Never had anyone risked themselves so she and her sister could live another day. The human wiped sweat from his forehead and turned to her. "We can't stay here," he said. His voice was low but steady. "More will come." Lyra swallowed hard, her throat dry. "They won't stop." "Will they?" He shook his head. "Not until they've taken everything. That's how men like them survive." He reached out a hand to her. "Come, you're safer with me." Her eyes dropped to his hand. She hesitated, fear still clinging to her heart. But then she looked at her sister, whose small chest rose and fell weakly in her arms. She tightened her grip around Nira and slowly reached out to the human's hand. His hand was warm, firm, steady. He pulled her to her feet with ease, guiding her out of the alley. They moved through the dark streets together, the city quiet except for the distant hum of night machines and the low murmur of hidden voices. Everywhere they walked, Lyra felt eyes on her. She knew the thugs had spies, and every corner could hide another danger. But walking beside the human, she felt something she had never felt before: protection. At last, they reached the edge of the city where the buildings grew old and broken. Beyond the cracked walls and abandoned factories, the night sky stretched open. A small ship rested there, its metal hull dull and scratched from many journeys. It wasn't large or beautiful, but it was alive, ready to fly. The human stopped and turned to her. "This is mine," he said. "Not much, but it will take us far from here." Lyra's eyes widened. She had never been near a ship before, only seen them high in the skies, vanishing into the stars. To her, they were like dreams, things only the rich and powerful could touch. And now one stood before her. Are we going into the sky?" she asked softly. The human nodded. "Yes, somewhere safer." Her heart pounded. She clutched her sister closer, whispering to her. "Nira, do you hear? We're going to the sky." The human opened the hatch and gestured for her to step inside. She walked slowly, every movement cautious, afraid it was all just a fragile dream that would vanish if she moved too fast. Inside, the ship smelled of metal and oil, but it was warm. A small light flickered above, casting a soft glow. Lyra sat on the nearest seat, cradling Nira. The baby stirred, her tiny lips opening as if to breathe easier in this new place. The human closed the hatch behind them and checked the controls. The ship hummed to life, engines vibrating softly beneath their feet. For a long time, neither spoke. The hum of the ship filled the silence. Finally, Lyra looked at him. Her voice was small but firm. "Why? Why did you do this for us? You don't even know our names. You don't know who we are." The human turned his head slightly, his tired eyes meeting hers. I don't need to know. I saw 2 lives that deserved a chance. That was enough, her lips trembled. She lowered her head, whispering, "Then hear me again. My name is Lyra. This is my sister, Nira. And I swear I will pay you back when I'm grown. I swear it on everything I am." The human gave a faint smile. "Then grow strong. That will be your payment." Her chest ached at his words. For so long, people had told her she was nothing. Trash, a rat, a debt. But he had told her she could be something more. The ship lifted slowly, rising above the broken city. Lights from the market faded below them, and the endless sky spread wide. Lyra pressed her face to the window, her eyes shining. For the first time, she felt the weight of chains loosening, the air of freedom brushing against her skin. Nira made a soft sound in her arms, something like a laugh. Lyra's eyes filled with tears she had not been able to cry for days. She kissed her sister's forehead, whispering, "We're safe now. We're safe." The human looked at the 2 of them, his heart heavy but calm. He had no idea where their path would lead. He knew the thugs would not forget. Their leader's words echoed in his mind. Debts are never forgotten. Still, as the stars opened before them, he felt the promise of something new. Not just survival, not just escape, but a bond. The girl had whispered her vow again and again. "I will pay you back when I'm grown." He believed her, because promises, even small ones spoken by starving lips, had the power to change futures. The ship disappeared into the night sky, leaving the cruel market far behind. But in the shadows of the city, unseen eyes still watched, already planning their revenge. The story of the human and the alien girl had only just begun.